Hello. Welcome to Inspiring African Travel. This is James here, and thank you so much for joining us for episode 2 of our latest travel series, Untamed Routes. This series, it's all about discovering Africa's hidden treasures. If you managed to catch us for the first episode, we recorded a destination special in Lesotho, which is definitely an undiscovered gem. We did it as a self-drive, and as we went through the mountain kingdom, we reported as we went along from one of Stuart's Suzuki Jimneys from his company Treadlight. Today's episode was recorded in Johannesburg, not long after our trip, and it's all about hiking up Mount Meru, Tanzania's second highest mountain after Kilimanjaro. Now, there's a definite theme in this series. Part of Untamed Routes is about seeking out the second biggest or the second oldest or longest, whatever it happens to be. But it's about seeking out places that aren't on people's bucket lists and what that means for your trip. So I'll put it to you. Would you dare choose to travel to Tanzania to summit up the second highest peak instead of doing Kilimanjaro? How important is it for you to reach the top of Africa? Is it the bragging rights to say, I did Kili? Or is it just about having the sense of achievement, having conquered a challenge? So what if I were to tell you that Mount Meru is just as challenging, if not more? But you have a higher chance of reaching the summit. And it might just be more beautiful and rewarding than Kili. Just a few questions to leave with you for the moment, and we'll check back in with you at the end of the episode. I really hope you find it enjoyable and interesting. And if you have any questions about my experience or any of the previous episodes, you're welcome to get in touch. You can write to us via the socials or hello@inspiringafricantravel.com. Just a gentle reminder as well, if you would like to be a part of our co-founder's legacy, you can still donate to Julia's fundraising year on our website at inspiringafricantravel.com. And of course, you can learn more about the projects that we're supporting on the site. Enjoy the episode and catch you at the end.
It's like I feel like a news reporter. Hello. And wow, Mount Meru looks amazing. What did you think, James?
What a tick. You know, all these little clips, they get cutaways and then you end up like, oh, it's a great episode, but why have you got me rubbing my ass like on the top of the mountain?
Well, it was
and singing.
Eh? Why do you add that stuff in there? Especially the rubbing the arse one is bad.
We can put a survey out there and ask our followers if they enjoyed Stuart rubbing his arse in Lesotho.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure the masses will say yes.
Do they?
We want more.
One more of crazy. Yeah, the trick is you push record on that thing before I know.
Okay, here we are at Treadlight headquarters in Johannesburg. Thanks for letting us use your office, dude.
No problem. It's been boarded up with soundproofing.
Mm-hmm. It's cozy.
Great.
I mean, especially since our knees are touching.
I know, again.
It's like being in a chimney all over again.
We had an intimate drive in the chimney, as you said. Then we were next to each other on the rocks in Lesotho, and here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next time we'll put up. I'll have the office in tip-top shape.
Don't worry. My UK studio also needs some work.
Okay.
If that's any consolation.
So we'll do that as like a project.
Yeah, let's do it.
2 IAT recording studios, one in Joburg, one in the UK.
Fantastic.
Perfect. I like it. Cool.
Global, mate.
Nice. Okay, so we are doing our second episode of the next series, and what I'm quite keen about this one is because I don't. We're going to talk about Mount Meru and your trip up there, which is for me is really cool because I've actually never been to East Africa. Full disclosure, and I've also obviously then never been to or done an experience like climbing like Mount Meru or even Kili or anything like that. So yeah, I'm coming at it with from fresh eyes, which is quite cool, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it and what it's about. So yeah, so let's get into it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a dream for me to do Mount Meru. It was obviously a bit of a pilgrimage for Jules, because it was our mission to do that together. Mount Meru is actually the backdrop to the Julia Spry family house. And
amazing.
The family, yeah. So her father, Reggie, and mother, Nema, built this house in this little town at the back, or the village back end of Arusha. So Arusha is basically one of the gateways to all the national parks. So you can go out there into Tarangire National Park, to Ngorongoro Crater. So a lot of people go, that's like a hub.
Yes.
The Mound of Botswana, if you like, for the
Mound of Tanzania.
Exactly.
Nice.
The Mound of Tanzania. So, and it's so lush, it's so beautiful. And I always looked up at that mountain and said, you guys haven't climbed it. And they did actually climb, Jules did climb a bit of it when she was younger at school. But I wanted to do it together. And so it was really nice to do it with some friends of mine. And we really remembered Jules as we climbed up there. Amazing. And had lots of moments all along the way. So it was really, really special.
So it really was a trip with purpose, which is, I mean, it's nice to climbing mountains in that way is quite incredible, right? Because it's quite it's a challenging thing to do, but you also you get caught up in these incredible moments when you're in the mountains, Definitely. Right? There's just something about being in that space and in that kind of world. So give us a little bit of a rundown about Mount Meru. I mean, not a lot of people know about it. I had a quick look on the map, which I love to look at maps. So it was nice to see that it's quite close to Mount Kilimanjaro, which is obviously the famous one that everyone knows about, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. But there's not much known about Mount Meru. So do you want to maybe give us a bit of an intro as to what it's about?
Definitely. So the purpose in this episode we'll chat about it is a little bit I'd like to say to consider Mount Meru potentially as an alternative to Kilimanjaro. And I know that might seem controversial to some people because Kili is the highest peak in Africa. It's actually the highest freestanding mountain in the world.
Okay, wow.
So it carries a lot of fame from that perspective. And Mount Meru is like the little sister around the corner. But in its own right, it's a very formidable mountain. And it's also a massive challenge. And I think what you're going to get by doing Mount Meru is a much more quieter, less touristic experience, if you like. I mean, at the end of the day, there's about 30 or 40,000 people that attempt to summit Kili every year. And so, although they manage it really well, and you see these horrible things about Everest and these queues of people, and it can get a little bit busy at the top of Kili, but I think it's really, really well managed. But you are going to see lots and lots and lots of people. It's what you expect. Mount Meru, total contrast.
Yeah.
When we climbed it, we were 10 people on the entire mountain.
Wow.
I mean, that's epic. It's just so special. And having done both, I was able to compare the two. And it's a difficult one for me to sort of say, would I do Mount Meru had I had the chance over Kili? That's a difficult one. And I think everybody's going to have their own dreams and aspirations. But I would say that you should really consider doing Meru. And I hopefully in the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, however long this episode is, you'll be convinced. The mountain itself is the second highest peak in Tanzania. And it stands at 4,600 meters, just below that. Feet-wise, I think it's just under 15,000 feet for those of our listeners in that measurement side of the world. And it's also a formerly active volcano. I think it last erupted at about 8,000 years ago.
Okay.
So geologically speaking, that's quite recent. And it's a very, very high peak in the sense that if you look at Kilimanjaro, it's such a much more gradual slope.
Okay.
And you look at actually, if you look at Kili and Meru side by side, like from a distance, it's a weird sensation, but Meru looks higher.
Okay.
Because it's a sharper peak.
Yes. Okay.
And Kilimanjaro sort of goes up more gradually. I think Kili last erupted maybe 30,000 years ago. So, and they're both considered dormant.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the right word. Partially extinct because there's still a little bit of geothermic activity going along, especially in Meru.
Okay.
But also in Kili. So yeah, and then also Mount Meru is much more lush. So because it sits at about 1,000 meters. So I think Kilimanjaro sits at 5,800 and something meters. So it is more than 1,000 meters higher.
Okay.
But still, the fact that Meru is lower means it's got much more greenery and much more lush. It doesn't have that last level of sort of alpine ecosystem to it at the end. So yeah, waffling a little bit, but hopefully painting the picture of like the difference between Kili and Mount Meru. And also what I found interesting about Meru is it's, as you look at it, and there's a beautiful place, if you find yourself in Arusha for a few days, which I highly recommend you do, get a little bit of altitude into you before you do Kili or Meru. So if you arrive and climb the next day, you haven't given yourself a chance to sort of sit at the 900, 1,000 meter above sea level before you head off. If you go to the Melia Hotel at Arusha, there's a rooftop bar, and you can sit at the top there, have a gin and tonic, and if you're lucky, you'll get beautiful views, especially in the evening. Generally, the cloud lifts off the top of Meru, and brilliant. It's such a beautiful mountain to look at. Like, and you can see all these like old lava crevices that hug the side of the mountain. It's pretty impressive. And then this little crater where you can see the old ash cone sits on the side.
Brilliant.
So yeah,
that's amazing. So like, I mean, just from a takeaway for someone who's looking at it for the first time, I mean, obviously Kili is the tick box, right? So if you want to get to the highest peak in Africa, then you know there's nothing wrong. Kili's great; it's a good experience, but there is also this really cool alternative. And if you're the kind of person who wants a really challenging hike, because at 4,500 or 4,800 meters, it's a really good challenge, right? I mean, we were in Lesotho last weekend, and our highest point was 3,400. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we were commenting when we were out there that you could feel the altitude there. So I mean, you're talking another extra 1,000 meters higher. So you're still getting a really good experience from a quality mountain hike, but of course without the crowds and potentially in like this really beautiful, varied kind of landscape, right? If the experience of hiking in the mountains is your goal, in a remote location, then Mount Meru is a really good option. Even though you're not getting the tick of Kili, you're still getting an incredible experience. So that's certainly what stands out for me about what it was like.
Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about the climb itself, but I think it's when you do your basic research, a lot of people know straight away, especially people who work in the industry, go, oh, Meru is much more difficult than Kili.
Okay.
Which is based on a lot, and I think I'll talk you guys through the day one, day two, and how it was. But technically speaking, it's a harder climb.
Okay.
Because steeper, because the terrain's rougher, and you're quicker to get to the ascent, the summit day, than you are on Kili, which is much more a gradual process. Assuming you take the longer version of getting to the summit of Kili, which is advisable if you want the best chance of summiting. So that is one of the things about Meru, is that because it's less high, you don't have to allocate as long as you do for Kili to get to the summit or to have the best chance of summiting. Because those people who try to climb Kili in 5 days have got a very, very high chance of not making it to the top. Because I think there's a crazy stat, 30-40% of people don't summit it. It might be more, might be less, but a considerable amount of people actually, when they set off up to Kili, they don't make it because the altitude sickness kicks in, and when it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah, so that's a good point, actually. So, Mount Meru, you're getting that really good challenging climb with a higher chance of success, right?
Exactly.
Whereas with Kili, it's tougher because of the altitude, and it's to attempt it is amazing, but there is that element of disappointment. So you spend a lot of time trying to achieve this thing, and then sometimes you can pin too much on that, right? And then you don't really take in the whole experience. You leave there disappointed. Whereas with a Meru experience, with the higher chance of success, you get that really nice kick of achieving a difficult climb, right?
Yeah.
It's not an easy climb.
Yeah, and I think the challenge, and we'll talk you through the day summit day, but it's really hard. And those people if you don't have I think anyone can do it as long as you're fit.
Yeah.
But for those who haven't done a lot of hiking, they'll find that summiting day a real challenge, but in a good way.
Just talk us a little bit about the preparations and what you have to go through. So, I'm not a massive climber, as you can tell. But so if I did, if I was starting to plan to think about how to do it, what would you recommend in terms of getting yourself ready to give yourself the best chance of success?
Well, it's probably a good opportunity to refer our listeners back to the Kilimanjaro episode that we did back in series. We'll put a link in the notes. But we've done so many series, it's difficult to keep track.
It's impossible now.
Because when we interviewed Orca Lindstrom from Summit Africa, he gave us some really good tips on gear, and I don't think we need to go too much detail into what gear you need because there's so much stuff. But my biggest tip and takeaway from doing Meru is that don't skimp on waterproofing. We were quite lucky; we didn't get too much rain, but when it rained, boy, did it rain! So I was prepared this time, having done quite a few hikes. So I had a poncho, a really good poncho, and I love the poncho because what you can do is the minute it rains, you just whack it straight over your day pack and your head, and you're good to go. I just think making sure that you set off in the morning and you have access to that poncho that's really close, because what happens as well is the clouds start building, and then you're like, I think we'll make it. We're nearly at the huts or whatever, or you're hot and sweaty. I can't be bothered to put on a jacket.
Yeah,
and then you get wet.
And then
no
you
one
get
likes
cold.
getting wet, and then you get cold, and then you trekking around for the next day with wet clothes. So, yeah, a good poncho and a good jacket. Go for the best you can get. I think is the key, and then also don't overdo it on the snacks and the goodies and most companies. So we were with a really great company, Summit Africa, probably the best for doing Kili and Meru in terms of. From a price point, obviously a little bit higher, but man, they're well equipped with amazing guides and incredible food, and obviously loads of snacks for you. So you can have a few of your own favorites, and then hydration is also key. So get the best water bladder if you like. Those with the pipe. That's always the best way to do it. You don't have to worry about things freezing at the top because you're not as high as Kili. So just a normal. Hose that goes with the bladder, and so hydration and good waterproofing, and then of course boots. And the more worn in, the better.
And in terms of physical preparation, just walk a lot before you go.
Just walk a lot, and the more altitude time you can get, obviously the better. So that's why I say it's really important if you can to hang out in Arusha for at least a night or two nights. If you can, or Moshi, the other town, the gateway where Kilimanjaro Airport is. So either of those are fairly high, so it gives you a good chance. But not the end of the world. You'll still make it to the top without a great deal of altitude sickness. You might feel the headaches and nausea, but unlike Kili, which is much tougher, much higher, you'll be okay. You'll just feel a bit of the thing, and then. Yeah, obviously time on your legs is what you want, right? The more time you put on your legs in preparation, the better. And I think, a few scrambles that you can do wherever you live to just get used to climbing and the knees and stuff. But honestly, anyone can do it. You just need to be pretty fit, I would say.
I think what's really nice to know is that it's achievable, right? I think that's also something. Maybe if you just go back and you compare, like someone like me, who's not a massive hiker, something like Kili sounds really daunting. Like you'd have to go through like quite a big process to get yourself to do it. Whereas Meru, obviously, if you put in the work and get yourself fit enough, it's really achievable, which I quite like actually. It's quite appealing actually. You don't have this thought of this massive highest point. It's like very daunting. But so that's great.
And you don't have that great risk of being as fit as you like and doing Kili and not making it because your body just can't handle the altitude.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
We've had people who are super fit. And they're just like, the guides will tell them, sorry guys, that's it.
And the guides make the call. They're just like, you're out.
Yep.
Amazing, yeah. That's a valid point. Jim, tell us a little bit more about Summit Africa and the guys who kind of put it all together for you. I mean, you mentioned a bit that they obviously do a lot of the planning and take the food and all of that, but you've got quite a few options in terms of who you book climb with at Meru. So why did you pick Summit Africa?
I knew them.
Okay.
I knew them through Anita, actually. Anita, our friend Anita, it's her cousin, who runs a company called Summit Africa out there in Arusha, and they also do they run Lake Natron, which I've been to a few times, and I think there's another episode also in there, going to visit the Lake Natron area and doing that other volcano there, the El Doño Lengai. Yeah. It's just a place that's not far from the rest of the circuit where people go to, like Ngorongoro Crater and Lake Manyara, and you just veer off a little bit and it's so rewarding. So I think in terms of off the beaten track, like less visited areas, that's a place I love. So I've always had my eye on there, and Jules put me onto Lake Natron. So yeah, they run Kili and Meru treks, also Mount Kenya. Okay. And of course we did that episode with them back in the day, back in 2021. Yeah. And so and from a price perspective, as I mentioned, they are on the higher end, but you're looking at about, you can do the hike for about $1,000 all inclusive, but I'd push it rather towards the back end of that. Where you're going to make sure you're going to get the best guides, super well, like safe from a safety perspective, well covered. Every night we did oxygen tests, and we went through a whole medical on Meru. Okay. Obviously they do it on Kili as well. So I felt that was really thorough. And I have to say the food was outstanding.
Oh, really?
It was absolutely top notch.
Amazing.
I really like, the soups were delicious. We had chips, we had fish and chips, we had delicious spaghetti bolognese, we had veggies, we had chicken schnitzels. And of course, the one thing that you want to do when you're climbing is eat as much as you can. It's the best antidote to altitude sickness. So the more you eat and the more you drink, the better you feel.
So you really want, what you're saying is you want to be well looked after, right? Because you are going, it's a foreign place, it's challenging. Yeah. So you want like all of that background stuff, food, quality, guides, obviously hugely important. Guides make or break a trip, right? So it's worth spending the money. You know that you're in good hands and that they've kind of got the experience wrapped up.
Yeah, and for the few extra $100, it's totally worth it. What I also like about them, and we chatted about this a lot, is the fact that they are actively empowering women. Oh, wow. So our assistant guide on this trek, Yvette, she came from very humble beginnings, and she's actually around about our age. She's got a couple of grandchildren. Wow. And she's strong, man. Really? She is strong, and you can tell from that rugged, tough background that she's had and hard times and yeah, talking to her up the mountain, it was very humbling, I must say. I was almost in tears having the struggle that she went through, and then when she was telling me how much Summit Africa gave them this opportunity to go from a porter to assistant guide and then to head guide. It's amazing. And she led Kilimanjaro's first all-women guided, all-women trip in March this year over Women's Day. So yeah, check out the socials on Summit Africa. You'll see some good clips and some interviews with Yvette. And she was, she's a superwoman. So I think it's so nice to climb and be with a company that you know are actively empowering the local people, and it's really important.
And I suppose you spend several days with the guides. I mean, I like the way you said you connected with her walking. I mean, that's like a natural thing because you're walking with them, and it's nice to be able to hear someone else's story and to see what they've done and what they've gone through. That's really cool.
Yeah,
it kind of adds to the whole experience, right? Makes it more kind of local and special.
Yeah, and we also had a dropout, unfortunately, last minute. And so when I contacted Orca, I was like, look, we've been dealing with Ramona, who's the new general manager for the group. And she had just done Kilimanjaro. Oh, wow. And so Orca said, hey, there's a space, go and join the guys. And so we had Ramona as well, who was really good value to have on the trip. And so we really got to know those ladies really well, Ramona and Yvette, and I can't recommend them highly enough. We really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, well let's dig into the actual experience. I mean, like obviously you've touched a bit on the mountain and who you did it with and how to prepare, but tell us what it was really like. I mean, it's what's it like getting in there and climbing this awesome place?
Yeah, well, I could do hours of it, but I want to keep it succinct so that don't spoil it as well for people who are going to do it. But day one's pretty easy going. You just go into Arusha National Park, which is where the entrance into the climb is, and that's what the whole mountain sits within Arusha National Park. And I think it's a completely underrated place in East Africa. Everybody knows the big Serengetis and Tarangiris and Gorogoras, which are epic, but because Arusha doesn't hold that trademark destination, I think it just gets lost in it all. So I think well worth spending time at Arusha, and getting in there was beautiful. You literally a lot of waiting on the first day.
Yeah,
it's Africa, man. Hurry up and wait. And we get going, and you have to be you're basically waiting for the warden, the game ranger, to join you, because you've got buffalo and other wildlife.
Oh, okay.
Especially in the lower areas of the mountain. So you need to be escorted, and off you go. And day one is chilled. Everyone's in high spirits, and it's not too far to get up to the first hut. I think gate. So you leave from Omela Gate, and I think the first place is Miriakamba, if I'm pronouncing that right, and I think it sits at about 2,500 meters. So not too bad. But remember when we were in Lesotho, and I told you that night we got there, we were all feeling tired and chipper and good energy, and I said to Max, yes, we're going to sleep well tonight. We are tired. We got a long day tomorrow, and we got tucked up nice and early. And geez, did we have the worst night's sleep ever?
You just lay rolling around,
hot then cold. And honestly, they were the beds were comfortable. You stay in these really nice kitted out huts and bunk areas, and it was just tough to sleep, and we couldn't figure it out. And then in the morning, the guide was like, "It's altitude sickness.
No one's sleeping well.
No one's. It's just your first day high up in the mountain." And we're like, "Oh," because you've got this mindset that you're not doing Kili and that it's going to be easy, but actually, it's still height and your body's adjusting. So it's not a big deal. I think after that your body adjusted, and so actually higher that second night, but slept better.
Okay.
And also, by the way, in terms of tips for equipment, with packing a couple of pairs of earplugs, just in case your bunkmate is a heavy sleeper, or mine in this case. I don't know, like Max, if you're listening, I love you, mate. But this is a tester to see if he actually listens. This bastard he can't go to sleep without listening to a podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and then he falls asleep, and the podcast just keeps going.
So you listen to a podcast?
I'm listening to it, and he was listening to an episode about the Titanic, and it was gripping, and he's like, and I'm like, wow, I'm well into the history of the Titanic here. Anyway, neither of us could sleep really, so
you learned something then.
Yeah. Anyway, as I said, great night's sleep, and then the next morning, honestly, get up early. From that place, sunrise, the most insane view I've ever had in East
really?
Africa. Yeah, we got the sun rising behind Kili.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, this is one of the key, like the best selling points of doing Meru is the fact that you get the most insane views of Kilimanjaro.
Oh, yeah, because they're not far from each other. You
No.
can see it. Okay.
Ah, mate, it was just next level. And we'll put them on the socials there. It was one of those moments where we were all just standing there on the deck with our little jackets and cups of coffee,
Yeah, man.
looking at a view of this mountain. And it was just next level. And it was obviously the first view in the morning of Meru as well. So it was just an exciting day. Like we were on this mountain, we were pumped.
Oh,
So yeah, make sure you get up early. Don't waste your time. in
Yeah,
bed.
but it's always worth waking up early when you're doing something active, right?
Definitely.
I mean, we again had that in Lesotho where we got pulverized by the wind, but there's just so much value, right,
Yeah.
in just getting up early
Yeah.
and just seeing the world to like wake up, So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you pack your stuff and head further up the mountain.
Yeah, and so it's much the same as any major trek. You've got your porters that handle all your stuff. So you just got to pack up your bag and they take your main luggage. You pack your day pack and eat as much breakfast as you can, drink as much fluids, sun cream up and head off. And that is an immensely beautiful day.
Okay.
Through the forest all day long and just stunning ancient forest, mate. Colobus monkeys, turacos, parrots, just beautiful vegetation, time to chat. That's just, you really feel this is the day you're climbing Meru. It's just really amazing.
But it's not, is it really tough hiking at that point? Or is it just kind of like gradual going up the mountain?
More gradual,
Okay.
but there's some pretty steep gradients.
Okay.
But it's one of those ones that is a tricky one. It's not like technically challenging this part of the hike, but it's a lot of like steep going in the forest. And so it's a draining day.
Okay.
But it's not highly difficult, and it's just a nice one on the legs. Stop for a picnic lunch, and then you get up to your summit hut for the night. This is base camp, if you like, which is called Saddle Hut. And you get there kind of late afternoon. Can have a snack and a tea, and then you can do what they call Little Meru, which is takes you up to. I'm trying to remember, but I think it's just under 3,800 meters or somewhere around there, and it's a great opportunity to go up a little bit, get some more altitude time, and then come back down again.
And they say that's good for you for
Very
planning
good.
for planning the summit. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's like a top thing to do is to
Definitely.
go and do Little Meru just to test the legs and the lungs,
Exactly.
and then come back down.
Exactly. It kind of goes against your mental principles, having
does.
hiked all day. It's like, what is the point of going up to another high point and just coming down? And it was quite cloudy when we were there, but it's fun. You're in the spirit of it, and the guys are like, come do it. Off we went. So
you all did it?
Yeah, we all did it.
Oh, good.
Everyone did it. It was good fun. And if you're lucky, obviously you can get some nice views late afternoon. I must also add that we did it in March, which is the start of the rainy season.
Okay. So off peak then.
Off peak.
Okay.
But I always challenge people to do things in off peak.
do.
We do as well, don't we?
Yeah.
But so you could be unlucky with rain, but we only had a couple of heavy showers. A heavy shower on day one, like bucketed.
But you had a poncho.
I had a poncho.
You see, it's all about being prepared, right?
It's all about being prepared.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and then cool, like pack in for the night, and unfortunately the reality starts to set in about your the fact that you're gonna tuck in for the night, but only up until midnight.
Oh, so you go early? Well, in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is one thing that I must say. Some people don't adjust well to that because it's like, well, what's the point? You're going to bed at like 7, 8 p.m. You struggle to fall asleep, and then you got to get up. But the guides know what they're talking about. Just listen to the guides because you need to rest. Like some people are like, why can't we just climb now? Like, let's wait until like 10 p.m. and just climb now. But your body needs rest, even if it's just not falling fast asleep. And then we set off at midnight, head torches on, jacket on, freaking freezing.
So why midnight, if I may ask?
So that there's a long day. I think I put it in our notes, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Long day.
Yeah, you want to get to the summit as close as you can to sunrise. And in order to do that, you need to leave at midnight. But also, you want to get to the summit and way back down. So you actually spend night 3 in the hut that you spent the first night.
Okay.
And so a lot of people don't, like, after hiking all the way to the summit and coming back down to your base camp, to Saddle Hut, you're like, why can't we just stay here for the night and then do the last bit? But you must remember that a lot of people are struggling with altitude sickness. And it's important for them to get down much lower.
Okay. So it's actually it's almost like a health thing. You want to get to further down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we actually had guests on another group, and she was complaining bitterly to her guide. And like to the point where I nearly felt like interjecting, because she was tired. You know, we'd got up at midnight, we summited, and then we got back for lunch, and it's like 2 PM. And now they're telling you you've got to carry on hiking for another 4 hours.
Wow.
And your legs are buggered.
Yeah, and also you've obviously had like the elation of getting to the top, right?
Exactly.
And you're pumped. You come back down, your body starts to relax a bit because you're like, hey, I've done what I needed to do, and now then they tell you 4 more hours.
Yeah.
I can imagine that stuff.
Yeah, but it's for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, you set off, and this is where the climb gets really hard. There are sections in pitch dark.
Yeah.
Where you are almost climbing on a vertical cliff.
Wow, really?
It's intense, man.
Well, maybe it's good it's pitch dark.
Yeah, it's exactly
For
what
me,
you
it
said.
would be good. I would not want to stay off the edge of a cliff. You know, it's not my extreme heights is not my thing. But so maybe that's a good reason to do it in the dark.
Yeah.
But what's it like? I mean, that was something I wanted to ask you. Is what is it like getting up and hiking in the dark like that? I mean, it must be a bit challenging.
It's really challenging. It's really cold. It was windy as well. But you get into like a trance.
Okay.
Yeah, you get into like a trance where you're just focusing on your torch light.
Yeah.
And you're just trekking one after the other. And it's a slow hike, eh? And my mate Max, he struggled. Like the pace was too slow for him.
Okay.
And he kept on tripping the person in front. I was like, but you know, because he also got into the zone, but it's the slowness is important because otherwise, without knowing it, you're going too quickly, and then your body struggles with the altitude sickness. So and it kind of set in. So we did that first, the edge of one of these cliffs, and the guides, again, I'll say hands down fantastic. We had Max was okay. I was fine on it. Laura was a little bit like nervous, and I think also Ramona on the edge there, and so they were really grabbing onto you and helping you get through that. Yeah, so they really, it's not like letting you get on with it and good luck to you. And then we carried on and on and on, and oh man, and that's when I started to get altitude sickness, and again, it just caught up with me.
Yeah,
I was like, I've done Kili, it's fine, and I started to get properly nauseous. So I heaved a couple of times, and but I knew that it was much milder than what I was used to, and the guys just say if you feel like vomiting, just let it go.
Just go for it.
Just let it go. And
embrace the vomit.
Yeah, and if you've got a headache, take a tablet. But just keep drinking as much fluid as you can. And actually, as a group, I must say, you go up in peaks and troughs.
Yes. You mean like different people at different stages? Different stages. Okay.
Yeah.
So you help each other.
Exactly that.
Okay.
Exactly that.
Cool.
But certainly what did help, we were a bit slow. We took our time. But my goodness, was the sunrise another insanely beautiful sunrise. It was, I'm getting goosebumps thinking of it now, mate. Again, we saw this halo over Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
Like this light halo. And then the mountain starts to turn into purple. And you just are in another world, dude. It's like, I can't describe it well enough. And hopefully some of the clips that you see on our social media and the site will do it justice. But you could just see the deep purples and the oranges, and then just feeling like you're on top of the world, away from any distractions. It was just amazing. But then, of course, it's like, where is this?
Where's the top?
And Meru has a lot of false summits.
Oh, really?
You'll
so
come
you think
over a rise and you'll see this, and it's another one and another one, and it was brutal.
That is tough, eh? Because you're kind of like, okay, I'll get to this point, and then we're there.
Yeah.
Then you get there.
Yeah.
And then the mountain says no.
But we pushed on, and again, like people with a bit of height, vertigo, whatever, is a long drop, like of just rubble and old volcanic rocks and stuff, and you just go one or 2 feet wrong, and you are just gonna roll and roll and roll. So yeah, you got to keep your wits about you. So you've got but you climb, and it's a bit rocky and technical at the end, really challenging, and then you just start to hear these I was at the back, and you just start to hear these woo, and you're just like, yes, we're nearly there. And I promise you, dude, the summit is like the size of this office.
No way.
I promise you, mate, it is mighty.
So you're literally standing on the top of it. Oh, brilliant.
And there's a sign that you'll see where it says how high you are and everything, and I got Max and Laura to stand on either side, and you're just like, should I really be standing here? I'm like, well, just hold on tight, guys. And yeah, again, the views were just insane, and it really felt like a proper peak.
Yes.
Again, when I was at Kili, it was just sort of a flat, sort of snowy area, and obviously we were a bit unlucky. It had mist and fog, so it couldn't see much, and it was people coming and going. We had this thing to ourselves.
You were the only guys on the top?
We were the only guys on the top, and we just chilled, and we got out a whiskey.
Oh, wow.
And we toasted to Jules.
Oh, brilliant.
And it was quite emotional. I think my emotions were done already, just building up to it. I was just taking in the moment. And we all felt, it's funny, you think, well, now you're at the highest, surely this is when you're going to feel the sickest or the most sick. But actually, you got this little lease of life again.
The accomplishment lifts the spirits, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact that you guys were the only people there. So how in your group, how many?
We were 3 of us.
Okay.
4, including Ramona, and then the porters.
Do the porters go all the way to the top with you?
Yeah, so a couple of porters come up because you start to get sick, and then they actually help you with your day pack.
Oh, so they're there to support you the whole way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And actually, 2 of our porters, it was their first time to go up Meru.
Oh,
They've
cool.
done Kili loads of times.
Oh, brilliant.
Meru. So that just shows you how much of an accomplished mountain this is, and it was really good to see their excitement as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome.
So yeah, tough day, but absolutely stunningly beautiful. And again, can't say how much appreciated the fact that we were the only ones up there.
Yeah,
that is what it
I just don't think you can put value on that, right? I mean, you can't really. There's something about just being in a space like that on your own. Just must be, and obviously having achieved and got up to the top there, especially for what you were doing it for, right?
Yeah.
You could just maybe gave you a bit of extra time to just take it all in for what it was and what you were trying to achieve.
Exactly that.
Rather than being part of a system where they're like up, down, kind of. So you had a bit of time up there to enjoy it, huh?
Yep.
Amazing.
No, it was lovely. And then, as I said, long day after that, because you're going down, and don't be fooled by down. Down is hard.
Down's tough.
Down's tough on the knees, tough on the legs, and you get to the base camp to Saddle Hut. It's tough. It's a long day, and we mentioned it earlier before we started talking about the summit day, and the fact that you got to go. We were up at the top at about 9:30 in the morning.
Okay.
2 groups were ahead of us.
Okay.
As I said, they were quicker.
Yeah.
So they were there close to sunrise, which might have been, a bit. I'm sure it was stunning for them at the top at sunrise, but we had a beautiful. We had a beautiful moment, and one of our group said that he had the best poo that he's ever had.
Oh, really? Well, that's important.
So no names mentioned, but Max had to sit on the edge and but then so did I later. So both of us enjoyed the best toilet stops ever.
Amazing.
And then, as I said, but as much as I said it was going down was tough, but it's also really, again, beautiful. We saw clouds come in and come out. So Meru had clouds all below it.
Okay.
I love that. I love hiking on top of the clouds.
Above the cloud.
Above the clouds. Just next level. I took lots of video clips and stuff. So I really enjoyed just that chance for me just to take more pictures and video clips because going up, I just took a couple and I was knackered.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you start to get down, and as I said, then you get back down to those vertical rock face crossings.
Okay.
And that's when it's like,
And now
we did that in the dark?
Yeah, that's daylight.
But anyway, yeah, and we stopped for a little rest at Saddle Hut.
Okay.
We finished at Meru Hut
Okay.
that day, and it was, yeah, starting your hike that night at midnight and finishing at 5:30.
That's a long day. So actually, maybe when you're at the top, well, in your preparations, you've got to remind yourself that the top is not the end of the experience.
Exactly.
Like you've got to like mentally know that day you've still got a whole. In fact, you've got more ahead of you going back down, right? In terms of hiking distance,
Yep.
you go past the camp and then even further down.
Exactly.
So, but if you're prepared for it mentally, you can take it in and enjoy it, right?
Yep.
You're not hating yourself when you get to the Saddle Hut and they tell you time to carry on.
Yeah. No, I must say, it took us all a little bit by surprise because we kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
I said those other guests were bitterly complaining, but we were always in good spirits and we enjoyed it, mate. We took our time. I think the other groups, again, were just rushing because they were knackered to get to the end, and we just cruised and we stopped, we bird watched, we chatted, and I think you got to, it's difficult, it's easy to say now, sitting with our coffee in the early morning light, but just try and enjoy it. Remember, you're only up there once, or maybe if you're lucky, you travel frequently and you get into these environments, but enjoy the moment of being in that epic wilderness. Yeah. And don't forget that. And I think if you can keep reminding yourself of it, then you'll appreciate it much more. But having said that, it was hard, mate, because we'd been up since midnight and hiked all of that. On the way down, I kept on having these like little moments of like, am I sleeping as I walk? Like,
really?
I was knackered. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was kind of weird. So chatting also helps you get through it and enjoy it. And then, as I said, that was the first hut where we had the bad night's sleep. Yes. And we destroyed that camp that night.
You made it right, eh?
Oh my God, did we sleep that night, mate? Jeez.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then the last day is so cool because it's a very chilled hike down to the bottom. And my biggest tip for anybody is, because the last day, as I said, it's easy. You're just going through the forests that you did. It's a 3-4 hour hike tops to get to from the morning, and it's quite a cool safari walk. Oh, really? Yeah, because
because the wildlife.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we actually tracked some buffalo out onto open floodplain.
Amazing.
And we saw warthogs, some great birding as well. Like that was great to actually have the time to stop and get the binos out and look at some birds.
Brilliant.
And I think my biggest tip for anybody is actually if you can book yourself a night at in Arusha National Park that night. Okay. It'll be brilliant because it's a bit sad, like you're kind of like leaving the mountain and leaving the park, and also you're getting into a bit of the wildlife, you've got into the spirit, you've disconnected, and for you then to like head off to a big hotel or go off on safari, you kind of forgotten this mountain and leave it behind you. And as I said earlier, Arusha National Park is totally underrated. Okay. And so I stayed with Jules in this place called, they've got a couple of lodges, but it's called Africa Mini Life. And there's a place called Hillside Retreat.
Okay. And they're inside the park?
Just on the edge.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. There's only one place in the park. I think it's called Hatari. Okay. But it's right on the edge. It is the coolest little lodge setup. It's built using a whole bunch of recycled material. So sandbags, cans, brilliant, old corrugated iron. It is so cute, like the way they've put it together. It feels like you're staying in a little mountain retreat, probably. And what a cool place just to spend a night, take some downtime, chill out, and do a proper game drive.
Oh, so they do a drive in the park to see what wildlife you can see, just to kind of add to the experience. Brilliant.
And there's some beautiful places. You've got these like soda lakes where there's tons of flamingos, hippos. Okay. Lots of beautiful giraffe sightings. The colobus monkeys, you would have seen quite a few on your hike, but the colobus monkeys are amazing.
Oh, really?
Black and white, long fur, just completely different to what we're used to in Southern Africa. Yeah, insane.
Amazing.
And so, I really recommend doing that. But What a hike! What an experience!
Yeah, it sounds amazing, man. And I think it's if you're an active traveler with a love or a desire to experience Africa and East Africa, it really should be on your list, right? I mean, even as a first time hike, I mean, you don't have to go for the big Kili straight up. I think it sounds like, if you, it's also less days, isn't it?
It's less days.
Yeah.
So, 4 days, less altitude, a real challenge.
Yeah.
And I think, I put it to our group that was with us, a couple of the people, and said, like, so guys, having done Meru and seen Kili the whole time, are you looking over the mountain across into the distance and wishing to yourself, I wish I was on Kili and not on Meru? Of course not.
No.
You're having an epic time.
Yeah.
And you've had a real challenge, and you've enjoyed much more exclusivity, great people, and a beautiful hike. And so that's our challenge in this episode and in the series, basically, is think about places that don't reach the headlines, that are not, when you type in hiking in East Africa and you've got reels and reels of Kilimanjaro, thinking about, as I said, the second biggest migration and places off the beaten track a little bit. And this is one of those classic experiences that will just reward you completely. Yeah,
I mean, it sounds truly amazing. Thanks, man. I think it was really cool to hear the experience from your side. I think you guys went out there with a mission, which I think you obviously achieved. And I mean, I love the fact that how you spoke about the importance of slowing down in the experience. It's something we always talk about. Again, we spoke about it in Lesotho. You can rush through these things, and then, like you say, at the end of the day, on your last day, just head out onto the next thing. And you kind of you quickly forget about it. But there's just so much value in just slowing down, taking it in, stopping for birding, and just being in the moment, because you just get so much more out of it, don't you? Yeah. Which again is probably something that you'll get more at Meru than you would at Kili, because Kili's got more people doing it. So they almost have to push you through the experience, not knocking the experience. I think Kili must be amazing. And if you listen to our podcast that you guys did, people will get an understanding of that. But there's just something different about Meru, which is what we like to do, right? Is promote these things it's just something different about it, something unique that makes it worth experiencing.
Amen to that, man. You've nailed it. And I'll just like to summarize with 2 things. I don't mean to be a killjoy, but when you descend on Kilimanjaro, there's a culture of singing, which is great because it helps people. And those of you who know East Africa will know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a very famous song, which is. Would you like me to give you a rendition?
Yeah, I was hoping you would.
It'll be on your brain. Jumbo, Jumbo, one. Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
I know it.
So they sing that all the way down, and it's like keeping up the spirits and keeping people go through that day. On Mount Meru, it's forbidden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the fact that it's in the national park, and because you're in the wildlife, it's a danger. And I appreciated that.
I'm sure.
I wasn't in the vibe for singing the Jumbo song, and it also allowed me to enjoy the bird sounds.
Yeah.
And we saw a very rare parrot, which I had written down, but took us ages to identify it. But it's a very particular type of, I think it was brown-faced parrot. The parrot that we saw, I'll also put it in the notes. That was a wicked bird. And so, it was just nice to be in the moment rather than have the old sing-song
singing
along the
down
way.
the mountain, bobbing around. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And then just to summarize that, I just think in a day and age where everybody's talking about responsible travel and sustainable travel, I think that doing something like Mount Meru is the epitome of being a responsible traveler, because remember that a lot of concentration of community benefit around Kili stays within Kili.
Yes.
And by doing something like Meru, you are helping all those marginal communities there, because remember, they're also selling all sorts of supplies and bits and pieces and all of that around that area.
Yeah.
So that helps, and also it just gets less footfall on one area, And so I think by helping visit less visited areas like Meru, you basically are doing a considerable amount in spreading the benefit
Yeah.
of your tourism footprint.
Yeah. And I think that's hugely important, right? I mean, I like what you say about the communities. I mean, those guys are also working really hard, and there's an incredible experience there, and they want to show the world that. But obviously, because it's not world famous, it just doesn't naturally get the traffic as easily. So you're doing a really good thing by supporting those and having a top quality experience, right? I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to knock the experience. You want to have a really good experience, which sounds like it certainly is.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Brilliant.
Well, I can't wait to talk to you about Lake Natron and that and the hike there in the volcano, Oldonyo Lengai. Well, that is considered as East Africa's hardest one-day trek.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, there's some incredible places outside of Kilimanjaro. So hopefully in this episode and the one later on in this series, we're going to provide some revelations.
Brilliant. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of trekking options in East Africa, right? So if you're an active traveller, place to go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. Thanks, James.
Thanks a lot, mate.
I appreciate the time. I mean, definitely a place that I would love to check out myself. Well done.
Catch you in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Well, there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to the entire episode and making it to the end. As you might have gathered, the Mount Meru trip was so special, and I hope you get the chance to do it one day. I can tell you that if I was given the chance to go back tomorrow and choose between doing Meru or Kilimanjaro again, I'd take Meru all day long. And I hope this episode inspires you to seek out regions in Africa that might be less well known, but will bring you so much joy. And if we haven't inspired you just yet, well, there's more episodes to come. From the second biggest mountain in Tanzania to the second biggest zebra migration in Africa. Next episode, we're going to be taking you to our stomping ground in northern Botswana, where we're going to share with you lots of inspiration about Africa's secret migration. Thanks again for listening, and catch you very soon. Cheers.